Hello, and a very warm welcome to you. Wherever you are in the world, and whatever time it may be, I often wonder where these stories are being heard. Perhaps it's late at night in a quiet city, or early in the morning in the countryside. If you feel like sharing, I would be happy to know where you're watching from in the comments. But for now, get comfortable. Settle in, and let us begin our journey. The day for a peasant, for you, begins not with the sun. The sun is a distant, often tardy manager who will show up much later to inspect your work. No, your day begins with a much quieter, more magical signal. Your waking is guided by the glimmer moss that lives in the thick, thatched roof of your small cottage. This isn't just any moss. It is a quiet, living clock, a piece of the world's magic woven directly into the fabric of your home. As the unseen energies of the world begin their slow, daily shift towards dawn, this moss begins a transformation. It starts to emit a soft, pale, silver-green glow, a light that is both gentle and wonderfully alive. It doesn't switch on like a lamp. It fades in like a thought dawning in the mind. The glow begins at the edges of the thatch, a faint, ethereal outline, and then slowly, gracefully, it seeps inwards, filling the criss-crossing strands of straw with a light that feels ancient and calming. It is, by all accounts, a far, far gentler awakening than the frantic, aggressive screaming of a rooster, an invention you are sure was designed by someone who truly despised the concept of a peaceful morning. This light is your first sensation of the day. It creeps down the walls, soft and silent, painting the small single room of your home in shades of silver and mossy green. It doesn't chase the shadows away so much as it politely asks them to move aside for a little while. The darkness recedes not in a rush, but in a slow, graceful retreat, pulling back to the corners of the room, where it will wait patiently for the day to end. This gentle, natural illumination allows your mind to return to the world at its own pace. There is no jarring shock, no sudden brightness forcing your eyes shut. You simply drift from the quiet, dark river of sleep into the soft, glowing morning of consciousness. It's a transition so smooth you are barely aware it is happening. You are simply asleep, and then, a little while later, you are awake, bathed in a light that feels like it understands the very concept of being tired. You lie there for a moment on your straw pallet, watching the light grow, watching it reveal the familiar, comforting shapes of your world. It is the most peaceful part of your day, a small, private gift from the world before the demands of a life of toil begin to stir. As the silver-green light from the glimmer moss strengthens, the single room that is your entire world takes shape. The walls are made of wattle and daub, a charmingly lumpy and uneven mixture of woven sticks and hardened clay. They are not perfect or smooth, but they are thick and sturdy, and in the soft glow, their imperfections give them a gentle, organic character, as if the cottage grew here rather than being built. The floor beneath you is packed earth, cool and solid against your bare feet when you eventually stand. It is the original minimalist flooring, surprisingly clean in its own way, and possessing the distinct advantage of never needing to be polished. In the center of the room stands the true king of this small kingdom, a single sturdy wooden table. It is scarred and stained with the history of 100,000 meals, a map of your family's life carved into its surface by knives and spilled drinks and the elbows of your ancestors. At the far end of the room is the low hearth, a shallow pit of stone and clay where the embers from last night's fire are still glowing with a soft, deep orange-red warmth. The gentle orange light of the embers meets the silver-green light of the moss, and for a few minutes the air in the cottage is filled with a beautiful, dreamlike mixture of colors. This is a home without decorations, but it is full of purpose. Leaning patiently against the wall is your hand scythe, its curved blade worn smooth from years of harvests. Beside the hearth sits a stout, round clay pot, its surface blackened with soot, waiting for the day's porridge. And in the far corner, silent and still like a sleeping elder, is your mother's spinning wheel, its spindle empty for now. The air you breathe is cool and carries a complex, comforting perfume. There is the base note of damp earth from the floor, a clean mineral scent. Layered on top is the lingering smoky smell from the hearth, a scent of warmth and cooked food. And woven through it all is the faint, sweet, and slightly spicy scent of the drying herbs that hang in bunches from the wooden rafters above. Chamomile for sleepy teas, rosemary for seasoning, and a bit of lavender to keep things smelling, well, slightly better than they otherwise would. The first sound you hear is not a bird, not a bell, but the gentle, rhythmic breathing of your family. They are still asleep on their own straw pallets nearby, their chests rising and falling in a quiet, peaceful unison. It is the sound of safety, the sound of belonging. It is a quiet moment of pure, simple peace, a small, perfect eternity before the first real sounds of the world begin, and the day truly, properly begins. Before your feet even touch the cool, packed earth of the floor, before the thought of breakfast or chores has even begun to form, the first and most important ritual of the day begins. This is not about the body. It is about the soul of the home. Wizards in their high towers might draw their power from the stars, and clerics from their distant, silent gods. But a peasant's magic is a much quieter, more practical affair. It is not about changing the world in a flash of light. It is about gently, patiently, and consistently nudging the world in the right direction. About keeping the small, fragile bubble of your life safe from the countless little troubles that nibble at the edges. This is not grand spell casting. This is daily spiritual maintenance. Your first act is to protect the family. You rise silently from your straw pallet, a small, shadowy figure in the silver-green glow of the glimmer moss. You move to a small, hidden nook in the wattle and daub wall where a little clay pot is kept. Inside is your most precious non-food commodity, salt. It is coarse and gray, harvested from the sea dozens of miles away, and traded for with a whole basket of last season's turnips. To use it for anything other than preserving meat is a luxury, but this is a luxury you cannot afford to skip. You dip the tip of your forefinger into the pot. The slight grit of the salt crystals, a familiar, comforting texture. Then you begin. You move with a slow, practiced grace around the small cluster of sleeping forms that is your family. Your finger barely grazes the earthen floor, leaving a faint, almost invisible line of salt behind you. You trace a circle, a wobbly, imperfect, but complete ring of protection around them. This is not a ward against dragons or rampaging orcs. It wouldn't do a thing against something so grand and violent. This is a fence for smaller, more insidious things. This circle is a barrier against a bad dream that might try to creep into your child's mind. It's a wall against the night chill that seeks to settle in your partner's bones. It is a quiet, firm no thank you to any stray, grumpy spirit that might have wandered in during the night looking for a bit of warmth to sour. You are tucking them in, not with a blanket, but with a line of salt. You are drawing a line in the dirt and telling the universe in a very quiet voice. Everything inside this circle is loved. Please be gentle with it. As you complete the circle, connecting the end back to the beginning, you feel a small, subtle shift in the cottage's atmosphere. It is probably just your imagination, but it feels as though the air inside the circle has become a little calmer, a little warmer, a little safer. Your work here is done. The sleepers are warded. With the family safe in their salty embrace, you turn your attention to the second pillar of your home's spiritual health, the threshold. The doorway is the mouth of the cottage. It is where the outside world comes in, and you must be very careful about what you let it swallow. Hanging from a small wooden peg just above the door is a woven charm. It is a simple, handmade thing, a braid of tough river reeds, their papery skins now dry and pale. Woven into the braid at odd angles are 3 black crow feathers, their surfaces shining with a dark, oily sheen in the moss light. This charm is the cottage's filter. The reeds, which grow by the ever-moving water, are for keeping life flowing smoothly. The crow feathers, from the cleverest and most watchful of birds, are for spotting trouble before it arrives. Your ritual here is simple. You stand before the door and just look. You check the charm with your eyes. Has the braid loosened overnight? Is one of the reeds cracked? Have any of the feathers fallen? A charm, you see, is like a net. If it has a hole, it cannot do its job properly. A loose thread could be an invitation for a bit of bad luck to slip through, or for the day's meager earnings to leak away. Everything looks good. The braid is tight, the feathers are secure, the charm is holding. You give it a gentle, respectful touch with your fingertip, a small thank you for its silent, sleepless work. You are, in essence, just checking to make sure your spiritual Wi-Fi signal is strong before you start the day. The final and most personal ritual is for the heart, the hearth. The fire is more than just a source of heat and a place to cook. It is the cottage's spirit. And spirits, as everyone knows, can be a bit grumpy if they feel ignored. You crouch down before the low stone hearth, the soft orange glow of the embers warming your face. You can see them pulsing gently like a sleeping animal. A happy hearth spirit means the fire is easy to light, the food cooks evenly, and the home feels warm and welcoming. An unhappy spirit means endless trouble with damp wood, smoky rooms, and a persistent chill in the air. So you speak to it. You lean in close and whisper a quiet, half-remembered verse that your grandmother whispered to her hearth and her grandmother before her. It is not a powerful incantation of command. It is a humble request, a gentle morning greeting. The words are a jumble of old rhymes and pleasantries, something about coals of red keep us fed, and glowing bright through the night. You are fairly certain you get the words wrong half the time, but the spirit doesn't seem to mind. It's the intention that matters, the simple act of acknowledging its presence. You are basically just saying good morning to the oldest, warmest, and most important member of your household, asking it politely to not die out completely before you can get the kindling ready. With the whisper complete, your morning wards are set. The circle protects the family within. The charm protects the boundary without. And the spirit of the heart protects the heart at the center. Now, and only now, with the world put gently back in its proper, safer shape, can the physical day truly begin. With the spiritual accounts settled, and the cottage gently held in its protective bubble, the first stirrings of the body begin to make their demands. The stomach, a far less subtle creature than a wandering spirit, begins to rumble its morning song. It is time for breakfast. You move to the corner where the water bucket sits, its contents cool and clear from last night's trip to the well. You pour a measure of water into the stout, soot-blackened clay pot, the sound a pleasant, echoing glug in the morning quiet. From a small sack, you take 2 or 3 handfuls of rough-milled oats, their pale, flattened flakes dusting your fingers as you let them rain into the water. It is a simple, humble base for a simple, humble meal. Now comes the first small, practical magic of the day. You place the pot carefully onto the still warm stones of the hearth, directly over the softly glowing embers. There is no need to build a new fire, not for a simple pot of gruel. That would be a waste of precious wood and effort. Instead, you reach for a specific tool, one that is just as important as your scythe or your hammer. It is the stirring stick. It's a long piece of fire-hardened oak, smooth from years of use. Its last few inches blackened to the color of charcoal. This stick is a key. It is the only thing allowed to directly interact with the hearth spirit when it is in this gentle, sleepy state. You take the stick and, instead of stirring the oats, you gently, respectfully stir the embers themselves. You nudge them, coaxing them, moving the warmest ones directly under the belly of the pot. As you do this, you lean in and whisper a single, quiet word of thanks. It is a simple, genuine acknowledgement of the gift of warmth you are about to receive. And the hearth responds. The embers don't burst into flame or crackle with sudden life. They simply blush. They glow a deeper, more intentional orange. The warmth they radiate intensifies, not with a roar, but with a deep, contented sigh. It is just enough heat to warm the pot, to gently coax the oats and water into a thick, comforting porridge, without consuming a single extra piece of kindling. This is peasant efficiency at its finest, a partnership with the world rather than a command of it. Why wake the whole fire and make it shout, when you only need to borrow a little bit of its warm whisper? The pot begins to emit a low, happy hum as the water inside starts to warm, and the simple, earthy smell of cooking oats begins to fill the small cottage, a scent that is, for you, the true smell of morning. The gruel bubbles gently now, thickening into a satisfying, if somewhat uninspiring, grayish mush. A stomach full of warm oats is a fine and necessary thing to start a day of labor, but a soul full of warm oats is even better. It is time to add the second and arguably more wonderful piece of magic to the morning meal. There is no honey pot in your cottage. Honey is a rare luxury, something you might taste once or twice a year at the harvest festival. Sugar is a myth, a crystalline powder that kings are said to put in their wine. No, your sweetener is far more common and far more magical. Your sweetener grows on a small, thorny bush right outside your cottage door. You step outside for a moment into the cool, crisp, pre-dawn air. The world is a canvas of soft grays and deep blues. You reach for the small, unassuming bush and pluck a small handful of its berries. These are sunberries. They are small, about the size of your thumbnail, and they glow with a soft, reddish gold color, as if they hold a tiny, sleeping fire within them. The magic of a sunberry is simple and profound. Each berry is a tiny, edible lantern. It spends all day drinking in the sunlight, absorbing its warmth and sweetness, and holds it deep within its skin. To eat one is to eat a little piece of a forgotten summer afternoon. You bring the small handful of berries back inside. You don't toss them into the pot whole. You place them in the palm of your hand, and with your other thumb, you gently crush them. As their skins break, you feel a faint, pleasant warmth spread across your palm, and the air fills with a scent that is impossibly sweet and warm, like sunshine and nectar and warm earth all mixed together. You scrape the crushed berries and their golden juice into the pot of gruel and give it one final stir. The transformation is immediate. The plain, grayish mush blushes with a faint golden hue. The simple, earthy smell of oats is now joined by a sweet, warm fragrance that makes your stomach rumble with genuine enthusiasm rather than mere necessity. This is magic of the most common sort, a small, daily miracle so deeply woven into the fabric of your life that everyone simply takes it for granted. You are sure that a great wizard in his tower could spend a decade trying to invent a spell that could capture sunlight in a bottle, and he would never manage to create something as simple and perfect as the sunberry. With the meal now complete, you pour it into simple wooden bowls. The rest of your family is stirring now, drawn from their sleep by the irresistible sweet smell. You sit together at the sturdy wooden table, the cottage filled with the mixed silver green and orange light, and you eat. The gruel is warm, thick, and wonderfully sweet. Each spoonful tastes like warmth, like comfort, like a mouthful of captured sunshine on a cool morning. It is the taste of the land, the taste of your home, and it is the perfect fuel for the long day ahead. With the warm, sweet gruel settled comfortably in your belly, and the day's tools gathered, you open the sturdy wooden door of your cottage and step out into the world. The village is stirring, a quiet, collective yawn. The air is cool and heavy with a fine silver mist that hangs low to the ground, shrouding the ankles of the cottages and softening the edges of the world. It is not an unwelcoming mist. It is a familiar, gentle blanket that the valley pulls over itself each morning before the sun arrives to wake it fully. You begin your slow walk through the small, sleeping village, your boots making soft, rhythmic thuds on the well-worn dirt path. The cottages, much like your own, are clustered together, not in neat, straight rows, but in a comfortable, organic jumble, as if a handful of giant seeds had been scattered and sprouted where they landed. They huddle together for warmth and company, their thatched roofs beaded with morning dew that sparkles like 1,000 tiny jewels in the ambient pre-dawn light. Smoke, a paler gray than the mist, curls lazily from the smoke holes of a few other cottages, a sign that other families are also breaking their fast. The sounds of the village are quiet and muted by the mist. You hear the distant, gentle bleating of a sheep, the soft clink of a smith's hammer from the far end of the lane, the low murmur of your neighbors greeting each other with a quiet nod and a "sun's on its way." There is a sense of shared purpose, a slow, synchronized movement as everyone begins their daily journey from the safety of their homes to the wide, open expanse of the fields that feed you all. The path you walk naturally curves inwards, as all paths in the village do, towards the very center of the community. It is a small, circular patch of closely cropped grass, known as the village green. And in the very heart of this green stands the reason your village still exists. It is the warding stone. Even from a distance, you can feel its presence. It is a quiet, steady hum in the air, a feeling of deep, ancient calm that settles over you as you draw near. The stone is a single, massive monolith of a dark, greenish-black rock, taller than 2 men, its surface rough and deeply pitted by 1,000 years of wind and rain. It is not a graceful or beautiful thing. It is a blunt, stubborn, and wonderfully solid piece of the world's original bones, plunged into the earth long before the first cottage was ever built. As you get closer, you see the details that make the stone so much more than just a large rock. Its surface is almost entirely covered in a thick, velvety carpet of the same glimmer moss that grows in your roof, which is why it too pulses with a soft, silver-green light in the morning mist. And peeking through the moss, you can see the faint, eroded outlines of runes. They are ancient, incomprehensible symbols, a language that no one in the village can read or speak. They are spirals and jagged lines and circles within circles, a form of writing that feels more like a map of the stars or the inside of a seashell than any human alphabet. These runes are the source of the village's safety. They are the heart of a powerful, ancient enchantment, a great, invisible dome of protection that extends over the entire valley. This ward is not for scaring away crows or keeping foxes out of the henhouse. This is a ward against the things that truly live in the deep woods and the high, lonely moors. It is a ward against the shadow cats with their silent paws and eyes of cold fire, against the lumbering, hungry bog trolls, against the whispering, spectral things that hunt in the moonless nights. The stone is the silent, sleepless guardian that allows you to sleep soundly in your bed. It is the most important member of your community. As you and the other villagers pass it on your way to the fields, you all perform the same unconscious ritual. You reach out your hand, and for a fleeting moment, you touch the stone's surface. Your fingertips press against the cool, damp moss. The rock beneath is not cold. It feels strangely, faintly warm, and you can feel a slow, deep, barely perceptible thrumming, like the slow, steady heartbeat of a great, sleeping animal. The touch is a gesture of immense respect. It is a silent prayer for the stone's continued strength. It is a wordless thank you for another night of safety. It is a way of adding your own small, insignificant spark of life force to its ancient power, a way of reminding it that it is not alone, that the people it protects are grateful. You feel a small sense of peace and security wash over you as you pull your hand away. With the stone's blessing, you feel ready to face the day. You leave the green and the gentle pulsing light of the stone behind you, joining the main path that leads out of the village and towards the vast open fields, which are now just beginning to emerge from the morning mist. Your journey to the fields continues, leaving the gentle pulsing light of the warding stone behind you. At the very edge of the village, where the neatish dirt paths give way to the wilder tracks that lead to the pastures and fields, stands a small, windowless building. This is the communal tool shed. It is a humble structure of weathered gray wood and a sloping roof covered in a thick, shaggy coat of moss. It leans a little to one side, as if tired from holding the weight of so many long days' work. The air inside is cool and smells wonderful, a rich, complex blend of oiled wood, damp earth, old iron, and the faint, sharp scent of the whetstone that lives in the corner. There is no toolmaster here, no one to assign your fate for the day. This is a place of quiet trust. The tools hang in neat, orderly rows on wooden pegs, each family having their own designated section. It is less an armory and more a shared library of labor. You walk to your family's peg, your boots silent on the packed earth floor, and retrieve your tools. They are simple and they are familiar. There is the crescent-shaped sickle, the sturdy wooden bucket, and your most trusted companion, the hoe. At first glance, they are unremarkable. They are the tools of any peasant in any village across the land. But this is a magical world, and to survive in it, you must adapt. The magic isn't in what the tools are, but in what they are made of. Take your hoe. The head is a simple, broad leaf of iron, beaten into shape by the village smith, its edge kept reasonably sharp. But the handle, the long, smooth shaft you hold in your hands, is where the real work happens. It is not made from common ash or oak. It is carved from a single straight branch of a rowan tree. You know, just as your father knew, and his father before him, that rowan wood is special. It is a wood that mischievous sprites and bothersome pixies simply cannot stand to be around. Your work in the fields is hard enough without a gang of tiny, invisible pranksters deciding that your efforts would make for a fine afternoon's entertainment. A day's work with a normal hoe might involve finding your bootlaces mysteriously tied together, your water skin suddenly hidden on the other side of the field just when you're most thirsty, or being overcome by a sudden, inexplicable sneezing fit right as you're trying to make a delicate cut. The sprites are not malicious, not really. They are simply bored. Your rowan-handled hoe is a quiet, polite, but very firm "do not disturb" sign. The sprites see it. They feel its simple, honest magic, and they decide to go bother the crows or play tricks on the sheep instead. It doesn't help you till the soil any faster, but it ensures that the tilling is not interrupted by nonsensical magical annoyances. You run your hand along the handle. It is worn smooth and dark with the sweat and oil of your own hands. It feels less like a tool and more like an extension of your own arm, a silent, reliable partner in the day's labor. Next, you take your sickle. It is a beautiful, simple tool, its curved blade honed to a razor's edge. But again, its secret lies in its creation. The iron of its blade was not quenched in the smith's water trough. It was quenched, as all good sickles are, in a bucket of dew collected from the petals of a moonflower on a full moon. This process imbues the metal with a faint, silvery magic, making it particularly effective against the more troublesome magical weeds that plague your crops. There is the giggleweed, a leafy green plant that, when cut with a normal blade, releases a pollen that sends you into fits of uncontrollable, crippling laughter. Then there is the grapevine, a thorny creeper that fills you with an overwhelming sense of miserable complaint, making you want to sit down and list all the world's injustices instead of working. The moonflower-quenched sickle slices through these magical nuisances without triggering their effects. It cuts the magic as cleanly as it cuts the stem, allowing you to clear a field with your dignity and your work ethic intact. Finally, you take the wooden bucket. It is a simple, well-made thing of sturdy oak planks. But the key to its magic is the thin, dark ring of metal hammered around its upper rim. This is not normal iron from the smithy. It is cold iron, a rare and special thing. It is raw iron ore, dug straight from the earth and hammered into shape without ever feeling the transformative heat of a forge. Cold iron is pure, it is raw, and it is a substance that many small magical water pests find deeply, personally offensive. When you fill your bucket from the village well or the field stream, you don't have to worry about the water becoming a home for invisible well sprites or river wrigglers, tiny creatures that, while harmless, have a nasty habit of making fresh water taste like pond scum. The cold iron rim leaches a tiny, imperceptible bit of its nature into the water, making it unsettling and unpleasant for these magical freeloaders. The water remains pure and clean for you. These are not the weapons of a hero. A knight's sword might be enchanted to slay dragons, but your hoe is enchanted to stop a pixie from making you trip. An adventurer's shield might be warded against a sorcerer's curse, but your bucket is warded against things that make your water taste funny. This is the true magic of the peasantry. It is small, it is practical, and it is deeply woven into the fabric of your everyday life. It is the accumulated wisdom of a people who have learned not to fight the magical world, but to live alongside it, to adapt to its strange rules, and to use its own quiet power to make a hard life just a little bit easier. With your tools in hand, you are ready. You are prepared not just for the dirt and the weeds, but for the specific magical annoyances that come with them. You are a farmer in a world of wonders, and you have the right tools for the job. You walk the final stretch of the path that leads out of the village, the comforting presence of the warding stone at your back. The path ahead crests a small, gentle rise in the land, and as you reach the top, you pause for a moment. Before you lie the fields, stretching out in a wide, beautiful tapestry of greens and browns, ending at the dark, mysterious edge of the old wood. But between you and that field is an invisible line, a threshold you are about to cross. It is the very edge of the warding stone's protective influence, and you have come to recognize the moment you pass it with a sense and an instinct far deeper than sight. You take a step, and then another, and then there it is. The change is not dramatic. There is no flash of light, no sound of a breaking barrier. It is a subtle shift in the very atmosphere of the world, a change in the quality of the air itself. It is like stepping from a quiet library into a bustling marketplace, even if that marketplace is still half asleep. The moment you step past the invisible boundary, the world feels wilder, more awake. The air, which was still and calm within the ward, now seems to hum with a quiet, latent energy. It's a feeling that prickles at the back of your neck, a low, thrumming vibration that you feel in your teeth. This is the raw, unfiltered magic of the land, the natural lifeblood of the world that the warding stone so gently pacifies within the village borders. Out here, the volume is turned up just a little. The sounds of the wild, which were a gentle, distant backdrop inside the village, become clearer, sharper, and a little stranger. The birdsong seems to have a few more complex fluting notes in its melody. The buzzing of a bumblebee passing your ear sounds deeper, more resonant, more like a tiny furry cello. The world beyond the ward is simply more alive, in a way that is both beautiful and slightly intimidating. You take a deep breath. The air itself tastes different here. It's sweeter, richer, with the scent of 1,000 different growing things all mingling together. But there is also a faint metallic tang to it, the taste of raw, untamed magic. You are no longer in the safe, curated garden of your village. You are in the wilderness, and you must mind your manners. The fields themselves are a testament to this wilder magic. They are not the neat, ruler-straight squares you might find in the tamed lands of the south. They are gently curving patches of cultivation that follow the natural contours of the land, separated by low, crumbling stone walls and ancient, gnarled hedgerows. And everything here is just a little bit different, a little more magical. You take a deep breath. The air itself tastes different here. It's sweeter, richer, with the scent of 1,000 different growing things all mingling together. But there is also a faint metallic tang to it, the taste of raw, untamed magic. You are no longer in the safe, curated garden of your village. You are in the wilderness, and you must mind your manners. The fields themselves are a testament to this wilder magic. They are not the neat, ruler-straight squares you might find in the tamed lands of the south. They are gently curving patches of cultivation that follow the natural contours of the land, separated by low, crumbling stone walls and ancient, gnarled hedgerows. And everything here is just a little bit different, a little more magical. Take the grass, for instance. The long, reedy grass that grows at the edge of the woods and along the hedgerows is known to you as whispering grass. At first glance, it looks like any other tall grass, its pale green stalks swaying gently. But then you notice something strange. It seems to rustle and murmur even when the air is perfectly still, even when the leaves on the trees above are motionless. It is a soft, sibilant sound, a constant, gentle shh, as if the grass is sharing a secret with the soil. Old tales say that if you press your ear to the ground and listen very, very carefully, you can sometimes hear faint, dreamlike words in its rustling, the land itself talking in its sleep. You've never heard any words yourself, but the constant, soothing sound of the grass is a familiar and comforting part of your workday. The everyday, mundane things of the world also hold a little extra magic here. The dew that clings to the intricate spider webs woven between the stalks of wheat and barley is particularly beautiful. In the first light of the true dawn, which is now beginning to break over the distant hills, the tiny droplets of water don't just reflect the light, they seem to hold it. They glitter with a faint, prismatic, rainbow-colored light, turning the entire field into a vast, shimmering net of jewels. It's a breathtakingly beautiful sight, a quiet reminder that even in a world that demands so much hard labor from you, it can still offer moments of profound, simple beauty. The soil itself feels different beneath your boots. It is richer, darker, and seems to thrum with a quiet, fertile energy. This is why you farm out here, beyond the ward. The protective magic of the stone, while essential for safety, has a pacifying effect on everything, including the crops. Out here, the raw magic of the land makes the soil more vibrant. The crops grow taller, and the harvests are more plentiful. It is a trade-off. You trade the absolute safety of the village for the richer bounty of the wilder land. It is a risk, but it is a necessary one. As you walk towards your designated plot for the day, your hoe resting on your shoulder, you feel a sense of profound respect for this place. It is a world of subtle wonders and quiet dangers. It is a place where you are not the master, but a guest. And you must work with the land, not against it, respecting its strange moods and its quiet, whispering magic. The day's real work is about to begin, But the journey to get here has already been a powerful reminder of the world you truly live in. A world where the grass whispers secrets and the spider webs are strung with jewels. You arrive at your family's designated plot, a small, rectangular patch of land that is both your inheritance and your responsibility. The air here is sweet, and the soil under your boots is dark, rich, and crumbly. And from this dark soil grow the silvery green leaves of your family's most important crop, the moon-turnip. The leaves are broad and almost perfectly circular, with a soft, velvety texture, and they lie flat against the ground as if trying to absorb as much of the earth's coolness as possible. The turnips themselves are still hidden beneath the soil, but you know what they look like. They are a staple of your village's diet, a pale, almost luminous vegetable with a silvery, smooth skin and a crisp, faintly sweet, watery flesh. Their magic is simple and vital. Unlike the wheat and barley that grow in the sunnier fields, the moon turnip draws its life, its nutrients, and its subtle, magical properties not from the hot, bright light of the sun, but from the cool, gentle, silver light of the moon. They are creatures of the night, and you are their daytime custodian. The work of tending to them is slow, patient, and methodical. It is a quiet, meditative labor that is more akin to gardening than to farming. Your first and most important task is weeding, but not for the reasons a sun farmer might think. While you are indeed clearing away competition for water and space in the soil, your main purpose is far more esoteric. You are acting as a servant to the moon. You get down on your hands and knees, the cool, friable soil a pleasant feeling beneath your palms, and you begin to clear the weeds that have sprung up between the turnips. There is the common prickly thistle, of course, and the tenacious bindweed, but there are also more specific magical pests, like the shade clover, a fast-spreading plant with dark, almost black leaves that loves to create patches of deep shadow wherever it grows. For a sun plant, this might be a minor annoyance. For a moon turnip, it is a mortal threat. Each weed you pull, each patch of shade clover you carefully uproot, is not just about clearing space. It is about clearing a path for the light. With every weed that is removed, you are creating a small, perfect window to the night sky, a tiny clearing through which the moonlight can stream down, unobstructed, to soak into the soil and feed the growing turnip below. You work your way slowly down each row, your movements deliberate and gentle. This is not a task that can be rushed. The moon turnip is a patient vegetable. It does not grow in a hurry, and it does not appreciate being disturbed by frantic, clumsy movements. With the weeding done, and the soil around each turnip now a clear, dark circle, the second phase of your morning's labor begins, the watering. This, too, is a task governed by a quiet, simple magic. You retrieve your wooden bucket from where you left it at the edge of the field. This is the same bucket from the shed, the one with the thin ring of cold iron around its rim. But the water inside it is special. It is not fresh from the well. This is water that you collected last night, leaving the bucket out in the open, in the very center of the village green, to sit under the full gaze of the moon for the entire night. It is moon water. As you lift the bucket, the water inside seems different. It seems to hold a faint silvery luminescence, a soft, captured glow. It feels cooler, silkier than normal water, as if it has been infused with the very essence of the night sky. The cold iron rim has kept it pure from any mischievous sprites, ensuring that it is nothing but water and moonlight. You take a smaller wooden dipper and begin the slow, careful process of watering each plant. You don't just splash the water over the leaves. You pour a careful, respectful measure directly onto the soil at the base of each turnip, a personal offering to each individual plant. The moon water soaks quickly into the dark, cleared earth, delivering its stored-up magic directly to the thirsty roots below. It is a strange and beautiful irony. You, a creature of the day, spend your hours toiling under the bright, hot sun, preparing the way for a vegetable that only truly lives and grows in the cool, silent light of the moon. A great wizard might try to invent a spell to make the turnips grow faster, to force them to accept the sun's energy. But a peasant knows better. A peasant knows that some magic is quiet and slow, and it cannot be rushed. Your job is not to command the magic, but to create the perfect conditions for it to do its work. You are a stage manager for a slow, silent, and entirely natural play that will be performed tonight by the moon and the earth. With the final turnip watered, your work here is done for the morning. You stand up, your back aching slightly, and you look out over your family's plot. The field looks clean, tidy, and most importantly, open to the sky. You have done your part. You have simply set the table for a far more ancient and powerful magic to do its work while you sleep. With the weeding and watering complete, the field is now in a state of quiet, expectant peace. But your work is not quite done. Your final and perhaps most important task of the morning is pest control. The stories and songs tell of heroes who battle dragons and slay monstrous griffins. And you are always grateful that your own life is so blissfully free of such large-scale excitements. The monsters you deal with on a daily basis are of a much smaller and far more annoying variety. They do not breathe fire or have claws like daggers, but in their own quiet way, they can be just as destructive to your livelihood. Your first and most dazzling foe is the glimmer beetle. You notice the signs of their work as you walk the rows one last time. A few of the turnip leaves are looking a little limp, a little sad. You crouch down and gently brush the soil away from the base of one of the afflicted plants. And there it is. Clinging to the silvery skin of the growing turnip is a creature of breathtaking beauty. The glimmer beetle is a small insect, no bigger than your thumbnail, but it looks like a living jewel. Its carapace is a stunning, iridescent mosaic of deep blues, vibrant greens, and fiery oranges that shifts and glimmers in the morning light. It is, without a doubt, one of the most beautiful things you have ever seen. and it is a complete and total menace. These beetles are not interested in the leaves. They are root eaters, and they have a particular fondness for the sweet, magical flesh of the moon-turnip. A small colony of them can tunnel through an entire crop in a matter of days, leaving behind a field of hollowed-out, ruined vegetables. Now, a peasant from the sunless lands of the south might be tempted to simply crush the beautiful pest under their boot, or to sprinkle some noxious poison on the soil. But you know better. The glimmer beetles are a part of the field's natural magic, and to meet their beauty with brute force would be to upset the delicate balance of the land. It would be a small act of violence that could have unforeseen negative consequences. No, the way to deal with the glimmer beetle is not with violence, but with distraction. These beetles, you see, are hopelessly, obsessively attracted to anything that is shiny. They are not hungry for the turnip's flesh, so much as they are drawn to its faint, silvery, moonlit glow. Your solution, then, is to offer them something better, something even shinier. At the very edge of your field, tucked away by a corner of the low stone wall, you have created a small, purpose-built shrine. It is a small pile of carefully selected, highly polished rocks. There is a piece of fool's gold that glitters with a brash yellow light, a smooth, dark piece of obsidian that shines like a black mirror, and a dozen small, milky white quartz pebbles that you have spent hours polishing with a piece of rough leather until they gleam. This is the glimmer beetle's offering. You gently nudge the beautiful beetle off the turnip root with a small twig. It clings to the twig for a moment, its jewel-like legs wiggling in protest. And then you carry it, like a tiny, sparkling emperor on his royal litter, over to the shiny rock pile. You place it on the piece of fool's gold, and it immediately seems to forget all about the turnip. It begins to crawl over the glittering surface, its antennae twitching with what can only be described as pure, unadulterated joy. It has found its true purpose in life. This is pest control based on a simple, profound principle: understanding your enemy's deepest desires and giving it to them so it will leave you alone. Your second major pest is less beautiful and far more frustrating. It is the tangleweed. This is a thin, vine-like plant, a pale, stringy green in color that grows low to the ground. It is not sentient, not in the way a person or even an animal is, but it is responsive. The tangleweed has a slow, subtle, but undeniable instinct to wrap itself around things that move. As you have been working, you've noticed a few tendrils of the weed beginning to creep into your plot from the hedgerow. The work of removing it is a slow, frustrating, and delicate process. If you were to simply grab it and pull, the weed would instinctively tighten its grip, wrapping itself not only around the turnip plants, but also around your own ankles. It does not mean any harm, it is simply what it does. Its grip is not strong enough to hurt you, but it is incredibly annoying and can easily trip you up. The process of removal is one of patience and careful untangling, not brute force. You crouch down, and starting from the very end of the tendril, you begin to gently unwind it. You must move slowly, with a calm and unhurried energy. If the weed feels a sudden aggressive pull, it will resist. But if it feels a slow, gentle, coaxing pressure, it will often relax its grip. You talk to it as you work, a low, quiet murmur. There now, let's just move you over here. No need to get all worked up. That's it. Easy does it. You are not commanding it, you are negotiating with it. It is a slow, frustrating dance, a battle of wills fought at a glacial pace. After a few minutes of careful, painstaking work, you manage to untangle the last of the tendrils, and you toss the entire vine back into the hedgerow, where it can happily tangle itself around a nice stationary rock for the rest of the day. With the beetles distracted and the weeds respectfully relocated, your morning's work in the field is finally, truly complete. You have tended your crop, not with poison and violence, but with patience, understanding, and a healthy respect for the strange and often annoying magic of the land you call home. The sun has climbed higher now, a warm and pleasant weight on your shoulders. The rhythm of the day has settled in, a comfortable and familiar monotony of bending, pulling, and tending. You have entered that state of peaceful mindlessness that is the gift of hard, honest labor. Your thoughts drift like clouds. You think about mending the thatch on the cottage roof, about whether the blackberries in the hedgerow are ripe to pick, about the satisfying taste of the morning's gruel. It is a simple, quiet, and completely ordinary day. And then the light begins to change. It is not a sudden change. It is a slow, gradual dimming, as if a great unseen hand is slowly turning down the brightness of the world. It is not the shadow of a normal cloud. A cloud's shadow is soft-edged and gray. This is different. This shadow is vast. Its edges are surprisingly sharp, and the darkness it brings is a deep, profound twilight. The air grows cooler, and a sudden, deep silence falls over the fields. The birds stop singing. The insects stop buzzing. The whispering grass falls silent. All the small sounds of the world hold their breath. Your first instinct, an instinct shared by every other farmer in the fields, is to stop what you are doing and look up. And what you see is a sight of such slow, silent, and breathtaking majesty that it stills the heart. Drifting slowly, impossibly, across the vast blue canvas of the sky is a sky whale. It is a colossal, gentle beast, larger than any mountain you have ever seen, its body long and impossibly graceful. Its skin is not the rough, blubbery hide of a sea creature, but a smooth, pale opalescent surface that seems to shimmer like polished marble, shot through with faint, pulsing veins of a soft, golden light. It glides through the air with an unhurried, dreamlike motion, propelled by no visible means, a living ship sailing on the invisible currents of the sky. It has great, slow blinking eyes, each one the size of a millstone, and they are the color of ancient amber. They are not looking down at you. They are placid, unconcerned, and seem to be gazing at some distant, unseen horizon. This creature is utterly, completely silent. For something so impossibly massive to move through the world without a single sound, no roar, no cry, no rush of wind, is perhaps the most magical and unnerving thing about it. It is a moving piece of the sky's own quiet. Its passage is marked only by the vast, moving shadow it casts upon the world below. The shadow is a slow, inexorable tide of twilight, sweeping across the landscape. You watch as it covers your field, then your neighbor's, then the entire sweep of the valley, plunging everything into a cool, deep, and silent gloom. For these few long, quiet minutes, you are living in a different world, a world that exists under the belly of a gentle, passing god. All across the fields, the same scene is repeated. Every farmer, you included, has stopped their work. You lean on the smooth, familiar wood of your hoe, your head tilted back, your mouth slightly agape. You are watching. This is the day's excitement, and it is a slow, majestic, and entirely passive event. Your reaction, like that of everyone else, is a strange and complex mixture of two distinct feelings: familiar reverence and weary patience. The reverence is for the creature itself. It is a thing of profound, ancient beauty. It is a living mountain, a reminder of the sheer, magnificent scale of the world, and your own tiny, insignificant place within it. To see it is a blessing, a moment of true wonder in a life that is often filled with the mundane. You feel a sense of awe, a quiet, humble respect for this great, silent traveler. You do not pray to it, you do not worship it, but you honor its passage with your stillness and your attention. It is a part of your world, a piece of the grand, magical clockwork that you are all a part of. But intertwined with that reverence is a feeling that is far more practical, far more peasant-like. It is a deep, sighing sense of weary patience. The sky whale is beautiful, yes, but its shadow is also very large and very dark. You are, after all, trying to run a farm here. Your moon-turnips may love the night, but the sun-loving wheat and barley in the next field over need their daylight. And for these several long, long minutes, the sun is completely blocked. So, while one part of your brain is filled with cosmic wonder, another, much larger part is quietly thinking, "All right, that's lovely, a true marvel of nature. Now, if you could please just move along so my beans can get some sun, I've got a lot to do today." This is not an omen. No one panics or thinks it as a sign of a good harvest or a coming war. The passage of a sky whale is simply a part of the world's weather, as natural and as unremarkable in its own way as a passing thunderstorm or a heavy morning fog. It is just a thing that happens sometimes. And so you wait. you watch the great, silent form drift slowly, inexorably towards the distant peaks. And then, as slowly as it arrived, the moment passes. The trailing edge of the great shadow slides off your field, and the world is flooded with light and warmth once more. The birds, as if on cue, resume their singing. The insects begin to buzz again. The world unauses. All around you, without a single word being exchanged, the farmers collectively sigh, straighten their backs, and get back to work. You push away from your hoe, blink in the renewed brightness, and return your attention to the small green tangleweed that was your primary concern just a few minutes ago. The most exciting thing that will happen to you all day has just passed, and it was utterly, completely uneventful. But for the rest of the afternoon, you will occasionally feel the ghost of its coolness on your skin, a faint memory of the time the sky fell silent and a gentle, living mountain passed you by. The sun reaches its highest point in the sky, a warm and steady presence. The world feels bright and busy. In the village, a distant bell tolls the noon hour, its gentle, clanging notes drifting across the fields on the summer air. This is the signal for the midday reprieve. All across the fields, the work pauses. Hoes are leaned against low stone walls. Sickles are laid gently in the grass. And a quiet, contented sigh seems to rise from the land as the human labor upon it ceases for a little while. From a simple cloth bag, you take out your midday meal. It is a humble but deeply satisfying feast. There is a thick, hearty wedge of hard, dark bread, baked with rye and barley, its crust wonderfully chewy and its inside dense and filling. There is a small, pale piece of sharp, crumbly goat's cheese, its salty tang a perfect companion to the earthy bread. And for a touch of sweetness, a crisp green apple, its skin shining in the sun. It is a meal that has not changed in 100 years, the perfect fuel for a body that has worked hard all morning and will work hard all afternoon. Now, where you eat this meal is just as important as the meal itself. You do not just find the nearest shady spot or sit by the edge of your own field. There is a designated place, a central meeting point for all the farmers during their midday break. It is a place of unspoken tradition and deep-seated magical safety. You and the other farmers, nodding quietly to each other as you pass, all make your way towards the very center of the vast patchwork of fields. And there, rising from the landscape like a great benevolent giant, is the witch elm. It is a massive, ancient tree, so old that its true age is a matter of myth rather than history. Its trunk is a vast, gnarled fortress of bark, as wide as your cottage. Its surface a deeply grooved and wrinkled map of the passing centuries. Its branches do not reach gracefully for the sky. They are thick, twisted, and seem to writhe and coil in on themselves, as if the tree is in a state of slow, constant, and thoughtful contortion. Its leaves are not a bright, cheerful green. They are a deep, dark, almost black green, and they absorb the sunlight rather than reflect it, creating a pool of profound, cool shade beneath them that is unlike the shade of any other tree. The air under the witch elm is always a few degrees cooler, and it is always perfectly still, even when a stiff breeze is rustling the wheat in the surrounding fields. It is a small, quiet pocket of deep, unwavering calm. You find a comfortable spot among the tree's great gnarled roots, which push up from the earth like the knuckles of a sleeping giant. You lean your back against the rough, warm bark and begin your meal. The other farmers do the same, finding their own spots, sitting alone or in small, quiet groups, their low, murmuring conversations a gentle hum beneath the great, dark leaves. The reason for this lunchtime pilgrimage is simple: safety. Local law, which is just another name for practical, time-tested wisdom, says that sitting under the shade of a wych elm keeps you safe. The tree has a powerful, ancient, and deeply territorial spirit, a spirit that is fiercely protective of the small patch of land it calls home. Its magic is a quiet, powerful ward, a no trespassing sign written in a language that all the wilder, more bothersome creatures of the world can understand. The safety it offers is not from the great nocturnal terrors that the warding stone protects against. The wych elm's magic is for the smaller, more opportunistic dangers of the daylight hours. It keeps the hungry, skittering wood spirits, who are known to have a mischievous habit of turning a farmer's lunch into a pile of wriggling grubs, at a safe distance. It is an effective deterrent against the stray, scavenging goblin who might be tempted to sneak out from the woods and snatch an unattended apple. The tree's quiet, powerful presence creates a small, portable sanctuary, an invisible, magical dining room where you can eat your meal in peace without having to constantly look over your shoulder. You take a bite of your sharp cheese and dark bread, the simple flavors magnified by your morning's hunger. You lean your head back against the ancient trunk and gaze up through the dense canopy of black-green leaves. You can see small, tantalizing patches of the bright blue sky through the gaps. There is a sense of profound peace here, a feeling of being watched over, of being safe. The tree feels less like a plant and more like a great, silent, sleeping guardian. The midday reprieve is not just about resting your body and filling your belly. It is about resting your spirit, about spending a few quiet, protected moments in a world that is often filled with small, magical annoyances. It is a daily reminder that even in the wild lands beyond the ward, there are places of safety, pockets of ancient, benevolent power that you can rely on. With your meal finished and the final sweet crunch of your apple echoing in your ears, you feel restored. You pack your empty cloth bag, give the great rough trunk of the wych elm a quiet, respectful pat of thanks, and head back to your field, ready to face the long, hot afternoon, your body and your spirit renewed and protected. The afternoon sun beats down, a heavy, golden warmth that makes the air shimmer above the fields. The methodical, almost meditative work of tending the moon-turnips is done for the day. Now, a different, more fidgety and frustrating task awaits you. It is the work of maintaining the boundaries, not of your own plot, but of the entire cultivated area. It is time to mend the Fey fence. You gather your materials, a small bundle of fresh, pliable hawthorn cuttings, and a pouch containing a few spare, tiny iron bells, and you make your way to the place where the neat, managed fields meet the wild, untamed chaos of the old wood. The Fey fence is not an imposing structure. It is a low, winding, and almost whimsical-looking barrier, no higher than your knee. It is not made of sturdy posts and straight rails. It is woven, a tangled, thorny, and continuous line of twisted hawthorn branches. The hawthorn, with its long, sharp thorns and its ancient magical association with the Fae, is the first layer of defense. Its physical presence is a clear, if humble, demarcation. Here, our world ends and yours begins. But the true magic of the fence lies in its second component. Tied to the thorny branches at irregular intervals with small strips of leather are dozens of tiny rust-colored iron bells. They are no bigger than a thimble, and they hang silently. This fence is not designed to keep out wolves or deer. A hungry deer would simply step over it without a second thought. A wolf wouldn't even notice it was there. No, this fence is designed to keep out a much smaller, far more troublesome type of intruder. It is there to dissuade the pixies, the sprites, and the whole host of other small, mischievous fae who live in the deep woods from wandering into your fields. These creatures are not evil. They are simply chaotic, a force of pure, unfiltered, and often deeply annoying nature. If left to their own devices, they would see your neat rows of turnips as a delightful new playground. A morning's worth of fey mischief could result in your entire crop being soured, tied into knots, or rearranged into a series of amusing but entirely unhelpful spiral patterns. The Fey Fence is your polite but firm request for them to please play elsewhere. The combination of hawthorn and cold iron is an ancient and effective deterrent. The thorns are a physical annoyance they'd rather not deal with, and the cold iron of the bells is a substance they find deeply, spiritually unpleasant. To the Fae, the proximity of cold iron is like a constant, high-pitched whining sound, and they will go to great lengths to avoid it. Your job this afternoon is to walk a long section of this fence, inspecting it for weaknesses. The work is slow, tedious, and requires a great deal of patience. You look for branches that have been broken by the wind or a passing animal, and you carefully weave in a new, fresh cutting of hawthorn, its thorns sharp and unwelcoming. This part of the work is a constant battle against the thorns themselves, which seem to have a particular talent for snagging your sleeves and pricking your fingers. It is a small, constant, bloody price to pay for the safety of the crops. Then you check the bells. Over time, the leather strips that hold them rot in the rain and sun, and the bells can fall off and be lost in the grass. Or, more commonly, a particularly bold pixie, daring its friends, will manage to snip one off and carry it away as a trophy. You check each knot, tightening the ones that are loose. You look for bells that have become too rusted to produce a clear, sharp sound. The sound is crucial. A light breeze is beginning to pick up now, and as it rustles through the fence, you can hear the effect. It is not a melodic chime. It is a faint, discordant, tinkling sound, a collection of tiny, sharp, metallic notes that is slightly unsettling to the human ear, but utterly repulsive to the Fae. You find a spot where a bell is missing. You take a new one from your pouch, its tiny clapper making a satisfyingly sharp, tink, tink, tink sound as you handle it, and you tie it firmly to a thorny branch with a new strip of leather. It is a small, simple act, but it is a vital one. Each replaced bell, each mended branch is a reinforcement of the magical boundary. You are patching a hole in the magical net that protects your community's food supply. As you work your way down the long, winding fence line, you are in a strange, liminal space. On one side of you is the world of order, of neat rows and patient labor. On the other side is the world of chaos, the deep, dark, and entirely unpredictable woods. You feel a sense of profound respect for this humble, thorny barrier. It is the only thing that allows these two very different worlds to coexist peacefully. It is a work of diplomacy, a negotiated truce written in thorns and iron, and it is your job to make sure the terms of that truce are upheld, one tiny tinkling bell at a time. The afternoon wears on, a slow and steady progression of tying knots and dodging thorns. The sun is beginning its long, gentle descent towards the western hills, and the shadows are starting to stretch across the fields like long, lazy fingers. You are deep in the rhythm of your work, your mind focused on the simple, repetitive task of mending the Fey fence, your thoughts as quiet and calm as the day itself. And then you see it. It is something so completely, utterly out of place that your brain takes a few moments to even process what it is looking at. Snagged firmly on one of the longest, sharpest thorns of a hawthorn branch is a single, large scale. It is a thing of impossible, terrifying beauty. The scale is the size of your entire palm, a perfect teardrop shape, and it shimmers with a deep, iridescent light. It is not one single color, but a whole spectrum of them, a swirling, captive rainbow that shifts and changes as you move your head. You see flashes of emerald green, deep sapphire blue, and a fiery, volcanic orange, all overlaid with a metallic, golden sheen. It is more beautiful than any jewel you have ever imagined, more vibrant than any flower or butterfly. It is a small, perfect piece of a living, breathing nightmare. There is only one kind of creature in this part of the world that grows scales like this. Your heart, which was beating with the slow, steady rhythm of your work, gives a sudden, hard, painful thump against your ribs. Wyvern. The name itself is a cold stone in your gut. These are not the gentle, passing sky whales. Wyverns are creatures of fire, muscle, and savage predatory instinct. They are the great hunters of the high mountain peaks, and while they rarely descend into the lowlands, their presence is a terrifying omen. This scale is a sign. It is a calling card left behind, a careless, accidental reminder that there are far, far bigger and more dangerous things in this world than mischievous pixies and shiny beetles. You stare at it, mesmerized and horrified. You can see the faint, intricate patterns on its surface, a delicate web-like tracery of lines. You can see where it was torn from the creature's hide, a ragged, fleshy edge that speaks of a struggle, or perhaps just a clumsy landing in the thorny bushes. The single thorn that holds it seems impossibly small and fragile to have captured a piece of something so immense and powerful. Your first instinctive reaction is not excitement. The stories the merchants tell in the tavern are full of heroes who find a dragon's scale and use it to fashion an invincible shield or sell it to a king for a fortune. But you are not a hero. You are a peasant. And a peasant's first and most important instinct is survival. Your reaction is a quiet, cautious, and deeply profound fear. A wave of cold dread washes over you, chilling the sweat on your back. This scale is not a trophy. It is a warning. It means that a wyvern has been here recently. It has passed low enough and close enough to these fields to get snagged on your fence. It has surveyed this land. It has seen the sheep in the high pastures. It has seen your village. The second and most crucial part of your reaction is to do nothing. You do not, under any circumstances, touch the scale. To take it would be an act of theft, and you do not steal from a creature that can melt stone with its breath. To even touch it feels like a violation, an act of foolish, suicidal arrogance. It would be like a mouse reaching out to touch the claw of a sleeping cat. No, this is a thing that does not belong to your world. It is a piece of a greater, more dangerous reality, and you want no part of it. Your peasant wisdom, the accumulated, cautious knowledge of your ancestors, tells you exactly what to do. You must be polite. You must be humble, and you must make yourself as insignificant as possible. So you finish your work. You force your shaking hands to tie one final knot on a nearby branch. You replace one last rusted bell, but you give the spot where the scale hangs a very, very wide berth. You do not look at it again. You pretend you have not seen it. You are a simple farmer mending a simple fence, and a thing of such terrifying beauty is far above your notice. You are a mouse, and you are trying very, very hard to be invisible. But as you turn to leave, your afternoon's work now complete, you make a firm mental note. Tonight, after the evening meal, you will take a small wooden bowl. You will fill it with the richest, creamiest milk from your best goat, and you will walk back here alone in the twilight. You will place that bowl of milk on the ground a few feet from the fence, a humble and respectful offering. It is not a bribe. You know you cannot bribe a wyvern. It is a quiet plea. It is a gesture that says, "Great and powerful hunter of the sky, we see you. We respect your might. We are small and poor, and we are not worth your notice. Please accept this small gift and overlook us." It is the prayer of the powerless, a desperate hope to simply be left alone, to be forgotten. With your plan in place, you walk back towards the village, your heart still beating a little too fast. The world, which seemed so calm and manageable just a few minutes ago, now feels sharp and thin and full of teeth. The day is dying. The sun, a great molten orb of orange and red, has finally sunk below the sharp, dark line of the western hills. It has taken its warmth and its bright, honest light with it. leaving the world to the gloaming. This is the in-between time, the soft, bruised, and deeply magical period between the end of the day and the beginning of the night. It is a time of profound beauty and a time of profound creeping danger. The sky above you is a stunning wash of deep purples, soft pinks, and fading blues. But your attention is not on the sky. It is on the woods. As the last of the sun's direct light vanishes, a new kind of light begins to emerge from the deep shadows of the old wood. The glimmer moss, the same magical life that gently wakes you in your cottage, also grows here, on the trunks of the ancient trees and the surfaces of the fallen logs. But out here, in the untamed wilderness, it behaves differently. As the world darkens, it begins to glow with a far more intense, almost feral light. It is not the gentle silver green of your cottage roof. It is a vibrant, pulsating, electric green, a light that seems more predatory than peaceful. It illuminates the edges of the woods in an eerie, otherworldly glow, making the trees look like silent, glowing sentinels guarding a realm of deep and menacing secrets. The world is changing its clothes, shedding the comfortable workaday garb of the afternoon and donning its more mysterious and dangerous evening attire. The very air seems to grow colder, sharper, and the sounds of the world begin to change. The cheerful daytime birds have fallen silent. In their place, a new chorus begins to tune up in the darkening shadows. You hear strange, high-pitched, chittering sounds, the calls of nocturnal creatures whose names you do not know and do not wish to learn. You hear the dry, rustling skitter of something with too many legs moving through the undergrowth. You hear the distant, mournful hoot of a shadow owl, a sound that is said to be a bad omen for lost travelers. The world feels like it is waking up to a different kind of life, a life that is not friendly to you. The sight of that wyvern scale, still snagged on the fence in the back of your mind, makes every strange sound seem 10 times more threatening. Your work for the day is done. It is time to go home. Your walk back to the village is not the slow, ambling pace of your morning journey. It is a little faster now, a little more purposeful. Your steps are quicker, your shoulders are hunched just a little, and your eyes are constantly scanning the deepening shadows at the edge of the path. You are not running. To run is to invite a chase, but you are not dawdling. You are walking with the quiet, determined haste of someone who knows they are beginning to overstay their welcome in a place they do not belong. You keep your hand resting on the smooth, familiar wood of your hoe's rowan handle. It is not a weapon, but its simple, protective magic is a small, comforting presence in the growing gloom. You join the other farmers who are also making their way back, a small, straggling convoy of tired bodies moving through the twilight. There is no conversation. Everyone is focused on the same goal, reaching the safety of the village before the darkness deepens, before the things that chitter and skitter in the woods grow bold enough to creep out onto the path. And then you see it. As you crest the final small rise, you see the village in the valley below, and in its center you see the light. It is the warding stone. As the magic of the day fades and the more chaotic, dangerous magic of the night begins to rise, the stone responds. The faint, gentle, silver-green pulse it had in the morning has now intensified. It is glowing with a strong, steady, and wonderfully protective light, a clear, brilliant beacon of safety in the gathering dark. The light seems to push back against the gloom, to create a tangible, visible dome of calm and order. The sight of it is a deep and profound relief, a feeling that unclenches a tight knot of anxiety in your chest that you didn't even realize was there. You feel your pace slow a little, your shoulders relax. You are almost home. You are almost safe. You quicken your steps one last time, your heart filled with a deep and abiding gratitude for this ancient moss-covered rock and the silent, sleepless work it does. You finally step across that invisible boundary, leaving the humming, chittering, and now deeply menacing sounds of the wild behind you. You are back inside the ward. The world is quiet again. The air is calm. You are home. Crossing the threshold of your small, sturdy cottage is like closing a book on the long and eventful day. You leave the darkening sky, the chittering sounds, and the memory of the terrifying scale outside, and you step back into the warm, familiar world of your home. The glimmer moss on the roof is once again emitting its soft, silver-green glow, filling the single room with a light that feels like a gentle, welcoming hug. But the day's work is not quite over. The labor of the fields may be done, but the labor of the home is a cycle that never truly ends. Your first evening chore is to milk the groat. Bessie, your family's groat, is a fat, placid, and exceptionally hairy creature that is, for all intents and purposes, a goat that has truly let itself go. Groats are known for their incredibly rich, creamy milk and their profoundly calm and lazy demeanor. Bessie spends her entire day in a small, fenced-in pasture behind the cottage, doing little more than chewing cud and staring thoughtfully at the sky. You take a small wooden stool and the milking bucket and head out to her small shed. She greets you with a low, rumbling bleat that sounds more like a contented sigh. The milking is a quiet, rhythmic, and soothing task. The warm, soft feel of her udder, the rhythmic squish sound, the sharp, sweet, goaty smell. It is a familiar and comforting end to the day. With the bucket full of frothy, warm milk, you return to the cottage. A portion of the milk is set aside for the wyvern's offering later, a silent, fearful duty that weighs on your mind. The rest is for the family. Some will be drunk with the evening meal, and the rest will be churned. This is the next chore. The butter churn is a tall, narrow wooden vessel, and the work of churning is a monotonous but necessary upper body workout. You plunge the dasher up and down, up and down, the milk sloshing inside with a thick, heavy rhythm. It is a mindless task, and your thoughts drift. You think about the wyvern, about its terrible beauty, and a small shiver runs down your spine. You churn a little faster. Finally, after what feels like a lifetime, you feel the change. The sloshing sound deepens, and the resistance on the dasher grows heavy. The magic has happened. The liquid milk has transformed into thick, creamy butter and thin, sour buttermilk. The final chore of the evening is one of care and repair. By the flickering, greasy light of a single tallow candle, which casts long, dancing shadows on the wattle and daub walls, you take up a needle and thread. It is a precious needle, carefully guarded, made of sharpened bone. The thread is a thick, homespun wool. Your task is to mend a tear in your younger brother's tunic, a ragged rip he got while climbing the old stone wall by the sheep pasture. Your fingers, which are clumsy and thick from a day of farm labor, struggle with the delicate work, but you persevere. Each small, careful stitch is an act of love, a quiet reinforcement of the family's well-being. Mending a tear is far more practical than buying or making a new tunic. It is the peasant's way. You do not discard what is broken, you fix it. With the chores finally complete, the family gathers around the sturdy wooden table for the evening meal. It is a simple affair, a thick, savory stew of moon-turnips and wild onions, a slice of the fresh, creamy butter melting on a heel of dark bread, and a cup of Bessie's rich milk. The food is simple, but after a long day's work, it tastes like a feast fit for a king. After the bowls are scraped clean, the family does not disperse. They draw their stools closer to the hearth, where a small, cheerful fire now crackles and pops. This is the best part of the day. This is the time for stories. Your grandfather, a man whose face is a beautiful, wrinkled map of a long and difficult life, clears his throat. He is the keeper of the family's lore, the guardian of its wisdom, and tonight he has a story to tell. It is not an epic of heroes slaying monsters. The heroes in his stories are usually cautionary examples of what not to do. His story tonight is about a foolish young boy from a neighboring village, a boy named Finn, who was known for his arrogant and disrespectful ways. Finn, your grandfather begins, his voice a low, gravelly rumble like stones moving at the bottom of a river, thought he knew better than the land. He did not touch the warding stone in the morning. He thought the Fey fence was a silly waste of time. And worst of all, your grandfather leans in, his eyes glinting in the firelight. He mocked the whispering grass. At this, you and your siblings all lean in a little closer. The whispering grass is a part of your world, and the thought of someone mocking it is genuinely shocking. He would walk by it, your grandfather continues, and he would say loud, foolish things, trying to get it to tell him secrets. He would shout at it, and he would trample it, laughing all the while. Your grandfather shakes his head slowly. But the grass does not like to be mocked. And one afternoon, as Finn was walking home from the fields, the whispering of the grass began to change. It started to sound like his mother calling his name from the edge of the woods. "Finn, Finn, over here." You can almost hear it, the soft, sibilant whisper in the air. The foolish boy, not thinking, followed the sound. He stepped off the path. He walked past the fay fence, and he walked into the woods, following the sound of his mother's voice, which was only the whispering of the grass, leading him deeper and deeper into the dark. He was never seen again. A deep, profound silence settles over the room, broken only by the crackling of the fire. The story is simple, but its message is powerful and clear. Respect the land. Respect its rules. Do not be arrogant. Do not be foolish. Your grandfather is not just telling a scary story to entertain you. He is passing down the rules of survival. He is teaching you how to live in a world that is full of quiet, dangerous magic. It is a lesson more vital than any you could learn from a book. It is a lesson that you will carry with you tomorrow when you walk past the whispering grass on your way to the fields, and you will be sure to give it a wide, respectful berth. The fire in the hearth has been banked for the night, its bright, cheerful crackle now reduced to a low, sleepy orange glow that pulses softly in the darkness. The story has been told, its cautionary lesson settling deep into the quiet corners of your mind. A profound, bone-deep weariness, the day's final and most insistent companion, has finally claimed you completely. It is time for sleep. You make your way to your simple straw pallet, your movements slow and heavy. Every muscle in your body aches with a dull, familiar, and almost comforting soreness. It is the ache of a day well spent, the ache of having earned your rest. You lie down, the rustle of the dry straw a soft, welcoming sound. You pull a rough, homespun wool blanket over yourself, its familiar weight a final, gentle pressure that seems to push you deeper into your bed. Above you, the glimmer moss on the thatched roof has begun its slow, nightly retreat. Its bright, silver-green glow has faded, leaving behind only a very faint, sleepy luminescence, like the ghost of a light. It is just enough to allow you to see the familiar, comforting shapes of your small home, the hulking silhouette of the table, the sharp, dark line of the spinning wheel, the gentle, rounded forms of your sleeping family. The world is quieting down, preparing for the deep, silent hours of the night. You close your eyes and you listen. The sounds from inside the cottage are soft and peaceful. There is the gentle, rhythmic breathing of your family, a quiet symphony of life. There is the soft, almost inaudible sigh of the embers in the hearth as they slowly cool. And then there are the sounds from outside. From far, far away, beyond the borders of your village, you can hear the sounds of the true night, the world beyond the ward. You hear the faint, distant, and deeply mournful howl of a shadow hound, a long, lonely cry that seems to be filled with a terrible, ancient hunger. A little closer, you hear the eerie, chittering call of a nightjar, a sound that is said to be the bird mimicking the voices of lost spirits. These are the sounds of the darkness, the sounds of a world that is not safe for you. But here, in your small cottage, they are not frightening. They are muffled, distant, and strangely muted. They sound as if you are hearing them from the bottom of a deep, calm lake. They are unable to penetrate the quiet, invisible bubble of safety that the Wolding Stone provides. The fear and the danger are out there, but they cannot get in here. They can only press up against the edges of your world, their cries a faint and powerless reminder of the safety you are wrapped in. It is the most comforting feeling you know. The knowledge of your safety is a heavy, warm blanket that settles over your tired mind. You are safe. You are tired. The great looping cycle of the day is finally complete. You have woken with the moss. You have warded the home. You have tended the crops. You have respected the spirits of the land, and you have returned to the safety of the hearth. You have done everything that was required of you. And as you lie on the very edge of sleep, your mind does not fill with grand, heroic dreams. There are no fantasies of finding a magical sword or of being whisked away on an adventure to fight a great evil. There are no dreams of becoming a powerful mage or a famous monster slayer. Such dreams are for the restless, for those who are dissatisfied with their lives. But your life, for all its hardship, is whole. It is complete. Your desires are simple and immediate: a good harvest, a healthy family, a roof that doesn't leak. The idea of seeking out the dangers that you spend your entire life trying to avoid is a form of madness you cannot comprehend. No, there are no dreams of glory. There is only the deep, profound, and utterly dreamless sleep of the truly weary. It is a sleep that is not an escape, but a reward. It is a quiet, black, and peaceful oblivion that your body has earned through a long day of honest labor. You did not fight any great battles today. You did not go on an adventure. Your day was not a story that any bard would ever sing. You simply survived. But your survival was not a matter of luck. It was a matter of skill. You survived by using the quiet wisdom of your ancestors, by navigating a world brimming with forces far greater than yourself, not with strength, but with respect. You survived by knowing which plants to avoid, which creatures to appease, which boundaries not to cross. It is a quieter, more humble form of heroism, but it is the only one that truly matters. As you finally let go, as your consciousness begins to dissolve into the welcoming darkness, the very last sensation you feel is the warding stone. You cannot see it, you cannot hear it, but you can feel it, even from here. It is a slow, steady, and deeply reassuring pulse, the great, calm, and ancient heartbeat of your village. It is the last thought in your mind, the final, silent word of your day. Safe, safe, safe. And you sleep.